what you will get to learn on today's workshop. So we have a series of workshops. Okay, so every Sunday you will get this cloud workshop. So it's a series. So as of now, today we are going to see a secure VPC, how exactly the secure VPC is, and how exactly we can make it a secure. Secure means database is there on our VPC. So what steps we can take to make it secure? Okay, we will see that. A small two-tier architecture we will create. Okay, so firstly we will create a VPC, then we will create the subnet. We will give the route. Okay, in the route tables we will define it, and we will also attach the internet gateway, IG. Also we will attach the NAT gateway for the access of internet to our private subnet. Okay, the private subnets instances. Then we will set up the instances. We will install the nginx into the instance, and we will show you how exactly a secure setup is there, which is like used in the industry. And many clients we have, like we have delivered many, we have delivered to many clients such a architecture, such a small architecture for a medium business. Okay, so this is the architecture, you can say. Sorry, I uh, forgot to change the heading. Okay, so this is the architecture. You can see here the internet is there. Okay, the internet is coming with the IG. IG is connected to the public subnet. Okay, okay. This is the VPC. In this VPC, we have two subnets. Okay, private and public. So in the public subnet, we have launched one instance. In private also, we have launched an instance. So with the public instance of public subnet, we have attached the internet gateway. Okay, which this subnet can access to the internet. This is a private subnet, and within this private subnet, we have launched an instance which is a private. How we can define, how we can know it is private? We will not give a public IP. Okay, it's a private IP instance. Okay, and we will see how exactly we can access it and how what is the concept behind it. And of course, this instance is in private, but for some packages, for installing any type of database, updating anything, or anything we want to do some configurations, if it needs the internet. So how exactly we will use the internet? So we will attach a NAT to it. NAT is nothing but a you can say, you can take the example of NAT as your router. Okay, like from one network, from one transfer agent, you can say all the networks are coming to that, and from that NAT is connected to the public subnet. So you can see it has the network, right? It has the access of internet. If you attach this NAT to this, so whenever you will request for the internet, the request will go to this subnet, and from this subnet it will go to the internet. Okay, so indirectly you can use the internet, but from the internet you can't directly access this subnet. So even though if you have 100 VMs in this subnet, you can't access either. Okay, no, there is no instance you can connect directly from the internet. First, you have to connect, like you can connect any instance if you have a IP, right? IP address, a public IP address. So it has a public IP address, but it doesn't have. So you can't access directly from the internet to this instance. Firstly, we can log into this instance. We need the credential of this instance. Then only we can switch to this. Okay, we can do SSH to this. So how exactly this architecture is made, we will see. So I would like to invite my friend uh, Shubham. So he will show you how exactly we will set up it, how exactly we will create it. Okay. So Shubham, over to you.
Hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Shubham Kohli. Let's deep dive in Virtual Private Cloud VPC. First, I will show you uh, what is VPC. A VPC. Wait, first I will share my screen. Okay. My screen is visible. Raise your hand.
Yes,
Oh,
it is visible.
oh, okay, sure. So, ah, so what is VPC? VPC means Virtual Private Cloud. VPC is like having your own infrastructure in your organization, in your private network. Like in your VPC, you can place your servers and your resources and control who can access them and how you utilize your VPC. So in the VPC, in this project, we will discuss about how the route tables work, how VPC creation, how subnet works in virtual private cloud, how the internet gateway, how the net gateway works, combine with each other in this project, and we will learn how to secure the database without exposing to outside world. So first we learn how to create VPC, a virtual private cloud for our organization. So first uh, log into your AWS account and go to VPC section, VPC services, and create a VPC. I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you are audible perfectly
Oh,
and screen is also visible.
okay.
Right.
So first we create a VPC, our virtual private cloud. So give the name to VPC. Let's say I give you my VPC. So in the VPC we define subnet. So suppose we define 192.168.0.0. This series name and CIDR format is 24. And all the configuration remains same, and we create a VPC. So our VPC is created. So here are details of VPC, like VPC ID and what's a subnet we give to VPC 192.168.0.0 in series range. So first I will show you. So how the project it works. First, suppose a client query to web browser and through internet. So internet comes to internet gateway, and internet gateway connect with a VPC. So a whole VPC, it behaves like a virtual private cloud. And through internet gateway, we define our two subnets. So we broke two subnets in. First is public subnet and second one is private subnet. So in public subnet, we created an instance, and in private subnet, we created an instance. But main thing is public subnet has internet access, but private subnet and private instance doesn't have internet access. So in this scenario, we put net gateway in public instance and private instance to access the internet for database. So go to previous tab. Okay. Now we are going to subnet section. First we define what is subnet and why we use subnet. So we use subnet to break up the larger network into smaller chunks or manageable pieces into network series. like first we create a subnet and we create two subnet. First one is private subnet and second one is public subnet. So first we define our VPC, my VPC, and first subnet name is public subnet. Availability zone is no preference, and now give the IP range 192.168.0.1, and we give CIDR format like 26. So create a subnet. So public subnet is created, and now the second section we create a private subnet for private instance. Select your VPC, then give the name. Private subnet. Availability zone no preference, and make sure your network series not lab. So in this we have like we give 192.168.0.0 so we have 26 network bit and 6 host bit. So we give two series like 192.168.0.64 26. Okay, so we have 64 IPs in this range. So we create private subnet and create a subnet. Okay. Now what's the scenario? Go to your VPC section and resource map. So here are our map. Basically this VPC section, and we created two subnet, public subnet and private subnet. And now so it's time to define route tables. And what is route tables? So basically route tables is like a set of instruction for about how data should travel in a VPC in a network. So route table basically is like a map to define how data travel in a network. If suppose if your data needs to move from one subnet to another subnet and one VPC, so route tables define a way to go to one subnet to another subnet. So basically route tables is like a map in your VPC how data should be traveled. So we create two route tables. First is public route tables and second one is private route tables. For public instance we use public route tables, and for private instance we use private route tables. So let's give the name. Public route tables, and select your VPC and create. So public route table is create. Now second one is private route table. Select your VPC. First give the name. And select VPC and create route tables. Now go to your VPC section and check. So here are our VPC, and we created a two subnet, public subnet and private subnet. We give public subnet like 192.168.0.0 0.1/26. In this series, we have 26 network bit and 6 host bit. So in this series, we have 64 IPs in one series. Okay, after that, we define how route tables define the way. So we created two route tables, public route tables and private route tables. Now we created an internet gateway to access the internet through public route tables and public instance. So give the name. Net gateway. Now we attach internet gateway to VPC to access the internet. So it are attached to a VPC section and select your VPC. We already have created and attach. Now go to your VPC section and resource map, but no showing details about internet gateway. First we define routes in route tables. So we go to route tables and select the public route tables and go to subnet associations. Edit subnet association, select public subnet, and we define our public subnet and we define our public subnet to public route tables. To save association, we linked our public subnet to public route tables. And now second one is private route tables. So we attach private route tables subnet to private subnet and go to subnet association, edit subnet association, private subnet, and save association. Now go to VPC section, resource map. Now you will see the path is created from private subnet, go to private route tables, and public subnet, access the data from public route tables. Now the third one, route tables, is already default route tables. When a VPC is created, it's already created with it. So now the internet gateway comes. Go to route table section. Go to route section, edit routes, add route, and we give all interface access. We want our services to access the internet from all interface. So in this section, target, destination is all interface, and now target section. For target session, we attach internet gateway to access the internet. Select internet gateway, and we created internet gateway showing here and save changes. So now check this, our edit is successful, and now go to your VPC resource map. Now it's private subnet. Go to route tables, routes, edit routes, remove, save changes, go to route tables, basically go to routes, public route tables, routes, edit routes, add routes, select destination, all interface we want to use, and internet gateway we created already. Save changes. Okay. Now check your VPC section, resource map, and now public subnet connected with public route tables. How we use the internet through internet gateway. So now the actual scenario comes in. It's time to create an instance to use how we configure our web server. So go to instance section, launch an instance, go and name instance like public instance. So we select the image. It's Amazon Linux already selected. Instance type, key pair login. We create a new key pair to access this instance like VPC. There. So go to network settings and we use our VPC. So here are my VPC and subnet section. We use our public subnet and auto assign IP. We use yes, enable and create a new security group to allow ports. So public security group. Okay, SSH anywhere. Okay, launch the instance. Go to instance sections. So we connect this instance. So this instance is created in our VPC. First we check instance have internet access or not. So is initializing. First we wait to status check. Now go to VPC section. The initializing. So now check. We have internet access in our VPC through internet gateway. Now the actual scenario, how we access the internet in our private instance. Now it's time to we create a private instance in our private subnet through private route tables. So go to first thing. Are you understand what I am doing? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay. Now we create a net gateway first. Sorry. So we create first instance. Okay. The route tables already defined and internet gateway already attached with our public route tables in public subnet. Go to your VPC section, resource map. Now we create an instance. Now, now we create a private instance and select the image. Already I've selected, and instance type email login. We use our VPC. Okay, now network setting. So we use our VPC, my VPC. And the subnet section, we use private subnet. Okay, private subnet doesn't have internet access. And auto assign public IP disable. We don't want public IP and don't want our database to expose outside world. So we create a security group. So give the name private private security group. Okay, now SSH anywhere. Okay, auto assign subnet, private subnet, my VPC. Okay, let's create. Go to instance sections. Now wait for 2 seconds. Now check. First check public instance. Now this our public instance, and public instance have internet access and have public IP and private IP also. But we have private instance and we use this private instance to our database, and check this private instance doesn't have IP address. So how can we access this private instance and how can access your database? But it's have private IP address. Both of these instance have in one VPC. So we access through public instance. So in normal scenario, like for example, we use public instance and go to connect section and connect to we connect public instance through SSH. But in this private subnet and private route tables define private instance, and we can't SSH this instance because it doesn't have public IP address. So now the scenario is stuck. How we use this database, how we access the our private instance. So let's do this. First, so we created a VPC and attached the internet gateway to access the internet for public instance, and public instance in public subnet. So how we access the private instance? So first we access the public instance through its public IP and .pem keys, and after that we SSH to private subnet, and we can't connect directly. We can't connect directly to private subnet. Okay, so first we go to our VMware, go to your Windows WSL systems. You have many more choice. So let's first we copy our .pem keys to local to my system. So I have them. First we change the permission of these keys. VPC.pem chmod 600 vpc.pem. Now vpc.pem permission is read and write only for only root user. So first we access the public instance. So copy the public IP, go to this section, and as such, first we access the public instance. So as such -i vpc.pem ec2 -user and we use this IP. Now yes. Now check this, you access your public instance and check this IP 192.168.0.0558 and check this 192.168.0.58. So we access our public instance through its PAM keys. Now, but how can we access our private instance? So we access our private instance, but first we use our PAM keys. How we use our PAM keys to access the private instance? So first we copy our private keys to our public instance. So exit the session. Now SCP, we use SCP command to copy files through SSL secure shell. SCP-I. First we use authentication, after that we copy the file. So first we use authentication to access the public instance. So we use vpc.pem. For first time we use authentication. Now that second time we use what's the file we sharing. So we share to vpc.pem. Now the user comes in ec2-user and the public instance IP. And now what's the location you want to place your PAM keys? So give the colon and slash ec2-user then dot. So first SCP command used to copy the files through SSH secure shell, and after that -i means we authenticate and access the public instance through vpc.pem, and second one vpc.pem used to copy, and second vpc.pem is a file to access the private instance. So now give the enter and the file is copy. You will see vpc.pem successfully received in public instance. So we access the public instance. Now check vpc.pem we received. Now how you access your private instance? So go to your private instance and copy the private IP address. Now go to sections and SSH-i vpc.pem and go and give the username ec2-user and give the IP address. Now boom, you access your private instance with the help of public instance, but you can't access your private instance directly from outside. So here are the example. Exit. First we exit to private instance. Second one is exit to public instance. Now we comes to root user in our local system. So we want to access our private instance to outside. So copy the IP SSH-i vpc.pem c2-user and now 192.168.0.106. It's my private instance IP. So check no access. We doesn't have access to access the private instance through outside without helping of public instance. Now the blinking, blinking and blinking. So we can't access our private instance to directly. So we use help to public instance to access the private instance. So first we access our private instance, public instance. Now we enter to our public instance. Now we enter in our private instance. Check this 192 IPA 192.168.0.106 192.168.0.106. We entered in our private instance. But let's check private instance have internet access or not, because we want to use our database, configure the database, in changes database, data migration, we use it, set the tables. So we need internet access. So let's check internet access have or not. Yum install and whatever like Nginx. So check this. We doesn't have internet access in private instance. Now the net gateway scenario comes in, and net gateway means network address translation between public instance and private instance to keep private your database to outside world. So we doesn't have internet access. Now we create net gateway. Go to VPC and net gateway sections. First, I will show you one more thing. So let's net gateway section, create net gateway. Give the name net gateway. Okay, net gateway. Select the subnet. Now the how we access internet. So we access the internet through public subnet to network address translation between public subnet and private subnet, and allocate elastic IP to access the internet. Create net gateway. Now check the net gateway is available, is pending. Wait for few seconds, and after that I will show you. Go to your route table sections, select your private. First I will show you. Go to your VPC section, check your resource map. So we created two instances. First one in public subnet, second one in private subnet. So public subnet have internet access with the use of internet gateway, but private instance doesn't have internet access because private route tables doesn't have internet gateway, and we don't want and compromise our database to outside world. So but we want internet. If you want internet, so use net gateway. So network address translation gateway placed between public instance and private instance. So let's check net gateway created. So it's pending section. Go to route tables, select your private route tables and edit routes. Add route, and we want all interface allowed. Then select net gateway. We select the net gateway, our net gateway, and save changes. Now, is the net gateway connected? Let's check net gateway is okay, available. Now go to this section. Now again we yum install nginx -y. So check, we have internet in our database in our private instance without exposing our private instance. So here are the actual scenario comes. So let's check. Go to your VPC section, resource map, and check. We created a VPC. Then in VPC we give the series to 192.168.0.0/24, this network series. After that we uh, divide between private subnet and public subnet. For public subnet, for public instance, and public instance we use for like our web servers, because web server connect with client and browsers to uh, access, how to access. And for private subnet we place our databases to secure our data. So public subnet connect with public routables, and public routables connect with internet gateway. And how the actual data flow in a network in our VPC. So first data comes to internet gateway, go to routables, and go to public subnet. And second one is private subnet. We use internet to public instance. So go to here instance. We are currently now we in private instance. So we exit to private instance. Now we are in public instance. We configured nginx server to show you. I will show you. So nginx service is down. First we enable the service. So nginx service is active. So select your public instance, public IP, go to browser, and boom. But we doesn't allow. So why we can't access our nginx server? I will show you, because this site can't be reached because of security group. We don't allow HTTP protocol in our security group. So how we access this web server? So first we go to your public instance and security sections, go to security group section and inbound rule, and edit inbound rule and add rule. HTTP protocol, and HTTP protocol use 80 number port to access web servers. And for 443 we use SSL for secure our communication between browser and client. So is anywhere IPv4. Okay, save rules. Now go to once again and hard refresh. Now check. Welcome to nginx. Okay. So the whole parts done from my side. I will show you one more. Go to dashboard, instance sections, dashboard, instance. So see this, we doesn't have public IP address in our private instance and we can't access our database to directly. If you want to access your database, so use the public instance. And when we switch to public instance have public IP and internet access. But private instance have internet access with use of public instance. And go to VPC section. Let's refresh. Now resource map. Now the whole scenario you will see. So we created a VPC and we divide two subnet, public subnet and private subnet, and we define two route tables. For public subnet, public route tables, and for private subnet, private route tables. And we connect public route tables to internet gateway to access the internet. But for private subnet, private instance, we put our database in our private instance, connect to private route tables. And private route tables have accessed the internet, but with use of public instance. And private instance doesn't have directly access to outside world.